Hi everyone, thanks for joining us on our Tuesday devotional. I hope that you had an enjoyable Memorial Day weekend with whatever activities you were able to engage in. I hope that at least it was restful and rejuvenating for you. As we remember on Memorial Day, remember those that made that ultimate sacrifice, that gave their life for us so we can have our freedoms. And I just want to say God bless you all, and especially God bless family members, surviving family members of those in the military service that made that ultimate sacrifice. Our prayers are with you. We're continuing our devotional series that I call Road Trip, and using the acronym DRIVE, Devotion, Relationship, Invest, and this week, Vision. I was thinking about a road trip, and what are the most four famous words on any road trip? Are we there yet? That is the mantra. Now, we say it when we get in the car, even before we pull out of the driveway, just to get it out there. But those famous words, are we there yet? Now, that's really a profound question as we go on our road trip and we're thinking about vision. Vision, are we there yet? It was reported that even Orville said to Wilbur Wright, are we there yet? But we're talking about vision. Having a vision for our life, having a vision that we live God's future. My wife and I, several years ago, we took some time and got away to do a little retreat, some visioning for our lives. And in the midst of that, we have a core verse for our relationship with each other. But we decided, what would the vision for our life together be in our marriage? And we decided the vision would be to be fruit bearers, glorifying God in all things. In other words, we wanted to be effective for God. We wanted to make a difference for God in our lives. And that's our vision. And then with that, we kind of had to make the way that, how we're going to do that, how we're going to live that. But our vision was to be fruit bearers, glorifying God in all things. And so we got to stop and ask ourselves once in a while, are we there yet? Because it takes faith to live the vision and to live the life God has called us to live. And in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1 has that marvelous definition of faith that I just want to use the first part, that faith is the reality of what we hope for. It takes great faith on a road trip because you don't know what you're going to encounter. And it takes faith to live that vision because it is the reality of what we hope for. We don't actually see it yet. But faith is the reality of what we hope for. It's faith that helps us to live that vision and bring that vision into reality. There was a story about a bishop from the East Coast that paid a visit to a Midwestern religious college. And he stayed at the home of the president, and this was in the later part of the 20th century. He stayed at the home of the college president, who also served as a professor of physics and chemistry. And after dinner, the bishop declared that the millennium couldn't be far off because just about everything about nature had already been discovered and all inventions already conceived. Now, the young college president politely disagreed with that bishop and said he would believe there would be many, many more discoveries and inventions. Now, when the angered bishop challenged the president to name just one such invention, the president claimed that within 50 years, humans would be able to fly. Nonsense, sputtered the bishop. Only angels are intended to fly. Now, to us in this century, to us living in this century, the bishop's remark regarding human beings never flying, it's nonsensical. I mean, it's been almost 51 years since Apollo 11 landed on the moon. The bishop's name, by the way, his last name was Wright. And at home, he had two sons, Orville and Wilbur. Now, that story may be a little bit of urban legend, because it leads us to believe that Bishop Wright was a man of little vision. But actually, he was an ardent supporter of his sons and their endeavor to develop flight for human beings. Bishop Wright was also a man of vision in speaking for the church, in speaking out against poverty and slavery and gambling and abuses of any kind towards fellow human beings. Thankfully, Bishop Wright was really a man of vision. And he lived, it took his faith. I think that he lived that faith is the reality of what we hope for. And he hoped to see a world that would be free from injustice, a world that would be free from poverty, a world that would be free from people exploiting one another for their own personal gain. And that was the way he lived, and that was how he thought, and those were the words that he used, and it was those that drove him to do the things he did, and the actions and his life and his vision. Imagine how different the world would be had Orville and Wilbur not had that vision that we could fly. Imagine how different the vacations would be. Imagine how different the world would be if we lived those words from Bishop Wright and continued to work against poverty and injustice and exploitation of all kinds that take place in humanity. Are we there yet? God gives us a vision, and it is a vision that takes faith, because faith is reality of what we hope for. I think the words resound in my mind as Orville said to Wilbur, are we there yet? Faith is that reality of what we hope for. God bless you.